All right. Hey, everybody. I'm here with my main guy. So I'm having a one-on-one conversation with a guy that not only is a friend of mine, but he actually drugged me to EXP, and he didn't really have to drag. But we'll talk about that as well. But Frank Crandall also was my team leader at a KW office that we both previously worked at, and when Frank came on as the team leader, I was on the company's ALC at that time. And I
Hmm.
think I gave Frank the hardest time of anybody in the ALC meeting before uh, before he came on. But then I also believe I was probably his strongest supporter during the time that he was building a great organization for us over there at KW. So, Mr. Crandall, how you doing today, sir?
Better than I deserve. That's an old Dave Ramsey line. Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, you used it before I did. But
Yep.
hey, well, let me ask you something, man. Right now, under the stay-at-home, safer at home, lockdown, whatever it is that you want to call it, how are you doing right now personally? How's everything?
I have to tell you, Elgin, I'm busier now than before this COVID-19 hit. So God has been good. I can tell you that.
That's real good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can tell by the smile. It's real good. That's a
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
that's a great thing. So,
Yeah.
hey man, why don't you give us a couple of minutes and just kind of tell your real estate story? How long you've been in real estate and I know your story, but maybe give it to a couple of people here that don't realize.
Yeah. I'll make it a short Reader's Digest version. So believe it or not, my background is really not in real estate. I spent 11 years with UPS, and then I spent 5 years with FedEx, and met my wife at UPS. And I left FedEx when I was 48 years old to go into another industry. And believe it or not, I there was a friend of mine who I knew very well. His name was Brent Gove, and I met him for sushi. And Brent convinced me to go into real estate,
Wow.
not knowing what to do, or not even know how to write a contract. But um, I went ahead and got my license. Failed my first state test because I was working 80 hours at FedEx a week. Thought I knew everything, but God humbles you a lot. And then I started out with a company called Keller Williams here in Sacramento, and was doing really well. My first year, I did 12 transactions, not knowing what to do. Second year, I did 22, and then the next 6 months, I did 36.
Wow.
And next thing I knew, I was on a plane to San Diego, and I was a team leader for Keller Williams right there in downtown Little Italy. And as it happened, I got to be the team leader who they would send to different market centers when they needed to be either cleaned up or helped. And I had the fortunate um, chance to be in the Santa Clarita office where you were, Elgin. And I started off that office with 57 agents, and when I left, there was 365. So I have to tell you, those almost 5 years that I put in Santa Clarita, probably my favorite of all time. Made so many relationships, which I still cherish today, and I like to keep those friendships. But it's been an unbelievable ride, and I have to tell you that um, there was a point a couple years ago where I said to myself, man, can I imagine the business I would have had if I would have stayed here in Sacramento and not gone to Southern California? And lo and behold, as it turned out, I never knew that I was going to be in EXP, and a lot of my business would be in Southern California. It's just funny how everything works out. But I'm just having the time of my life, and I just thank God every day that I have a rev share check coming in every month, and it's been able to help me support my wife and I, and um, looking for bigger and better things coming. Believe me, my brother.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm into that, right?
yeah,
Hey, so let me ask you this, because normally, you're on the other side of this interview thing. So let me ask you, when you saw EXP for the first time, one, how long did it take you before you, uh, decided to make the transition? And number two, or 1A, what was the top maybe two or three things that really, really excited you enough to make your move?
Okay. So I'll keep it really short. Um, I was working as a divisional manager for Remax Gold here in Sacramento. And I heard a rumor that Gene Frederick started not started a company, but jumped to something called EXP. And as soon as I heard it, I picked up the cell phone and I called him, because Gene and I developed a really great relationship at Keller Williams. And I said, Gene, what the hell's going on? You got to tell me what's going on. And he started talking, and I said, I just heard a guy named Brent Gove went over there too. And Gene, I have to give him kudos for this. He didn't try to recruit me. He just says, Frankie, you need to call Brent right away. And when I called Brent, I said, okay, I'm ready to join EXP, because Gene and Brent has always had my respect for no matter what they did. So I didn't even see the video. I didn't even see the model. I just said, okay. So Brent set me up with a guy named Rob Flick, and back then they were showing the RevShare calculator. And it took me 10 minutes into the RevShare calculator to say, what am I doing at a traditional model? For all the people that I've sponsored into Keller Williams, I think was over 500, where if Brent just said, if you could do 20 people in 5 years, you could have this much money. Well, I'm going on my third year now, and the paychecks are getting bigger and the productivity is increasing. And it took me about 10 minutes, Elgin, to answer your question. So.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy cool though. So you say it's been going on. It's been already going on 3 years now.
Yeah, I just hit 3 years last month.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool. I should have 3 years in, but I didn't move over fast enough, right?
That's another story.
Well, it talking about that though, and as you reaching out and you're doing your as we call it, agent attraction.
Yeah.
You're building your team. When you reached out to Pilar and I, what was it that you thought would attract us to the company?
Well,
or would be a good fit?
At that time, you and I, even when I moved back up to Sacramento from LA, you and I still kept in touch.
Right.
We would talk about Keller Williams profit share and how disappointed we were.
Right.
That instead of growing, it was going down.
Right.
As a matter of fact, my check last month was 73 cents. Couldn't believe it. We were talking about it. Yeah. And then when I got involved with EXP, I go, I don't know if Elgin would be interested in that, because, he gave me such a hard time in ALC. He'll probably bust my chops, just for me introducing it to him. But come to find out, Pilar, your wife, was more excited than you were. And I think it was a timing issue with what was going on in your office, and things were starting to kind of fall apart. And Pilar wanted to make the move before you did, because, you've been in the business for 25 years. You have a lot of connections. You're very connected in the Los Angeles area. And you don't move right away. You don't. And it took you about almost a year to come over, huh?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, 6 months to a year. So it's funny, because even with Pilar taking a look at it, it was a while before she looked at it. And when she looked at it, she was ready to go right then. We actually had Jerry Keller to thank for that, but that's another story.
Yeah.
When we looked at it when we were at an event, and really took a hard look at it. And
yeah,
it was amazing. So
and I think the only reason you really kind of looked at it was the relationship that you and I had.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. I'm a firm believer in relationship. That's the way I've always built my business. And it's not a transactional process. But if you didn't know me, I mean, you would have poo-pooed me in a heartbeat. But being that we had history together, I think there was some mutual level of respect. And I think that's what caught your attention.
I hope that you people that are taking the time and listen to uh, Frank and I talk and listen to what he said really take that to heart, because that's what building relationships are all about. And you can call on someone that you have a friendship or a relationship with, but you just have to make sure that when you call them, that it's something of substance. And you're right, Frank. We were going through some transitions at the time, but we had made a decision that we were going to stay where we were at. So when Frank first hit me up about EXP, I wasn't interested, to be honest. I talked to Frank only because he was Frank, but there was one thing that he said that stuck in my mind. The one thing he said that stuck in my mind was that the company had stocks, and he didn't use the word retirement. And those two things at least clicked enough for me to at least go Google it, say what is EXP,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. But no, you're right. I would not have, no one else probably, and I should say no one, but there aren't very many people that could have called me and particularly wanted me to possibly consider leaving Keller Williams as a whole, and I would have seriously taken a look at the model. So that's great. So as we move on, as our team grows, I mentioned Frank is my sponsor, and of course, for meeting Frank, I was able to meet Brent. I knew Gene already, but I was able to get a stronger connection via Frank. Where do you see yourself with EXP, say, I don't know, 5 years from now? What and can you say it without smiling, like really, really big?
Yeah, I can. I imagine that there'll be a lot more people in the group, and hopefully I'll be more fluent in Italian when we move to Italy, and learning some French, because I know Pilar will study up on her French when we move into Paris.
You got us moving with you.
You know, a lot of people always want to travel first class, but I'm more interested in buying the plane. And it just goes to show you that we always think on a real small level. Some of the things that I see that the leaders are doing, like moving to Puerto Rico. Now, that's not necessarily floats my boat, moving to Puerto Rico, although 4% tax does. But I don't see myself in California. You know, maybe I might have multiple houses. I don't know, but you know, I'm just tired of the race. I know you and all your peers have been in this business longer, you know, 20, 25 years, but you know, the hustle never ends. Every month you're starting over and over and over. And a lot of people get our business confused with multi-level. And if you're in Keller Williams, you understand the theory. And we're not in multi-level because you have to move product and services in order to qualify for that. But this is just doing what you're normally doing, selling houses, and then hopefully, you know, you're going to have a good commission. But after 3 years, I keep getting a commission check every month for the last 3 years. And it's getting bigger and bigger. And hanging around people like Brent and Gene and Jason and Glenn and Jay Kinder and Don Yoakum and Randy Bird, you know, you want to be in the top, 1%? And just very fortunate this has come along. And, you know, we even help, if you want to stay with your company, just call us. We'll help you be a better realtor too. You know, it's not, if EXP is not your thing, not a problem. Go with God. Just make it happen for your family. But we're only looking for people that want to look for something else. That's all. Brent has a great saying. He says, don't raise the dead, work with the living. So that's
That's
kind of
good.
the catchphrase. Yeah.
That's good. Well, one other quick question too. I found in speaking with people sometimes about our company, and they say, "Oh, you guys don't have an office, and you're not going to have support." And who I call for, uh, some of the things that they say that they call to talk to their brokers about, which we all know the majority of the time they don't. But the other thing that I hear a lot is, well, what do I do, as far as training? If I'm not going into the office and I can't, talk to somebody in classes, and how is that? Now, you being a former team leader at KW, and putting on trainings and scheduling that, and office meetings and all that stuff, and making sure there were donuts there and everything to get the agents to come. How do you think right now the training and support is compared to maybe the traditional model?
Um, it is second to none. I've never had more support in my life. I'm glad I'm not doing the meetings anymore. I'm glad the cloud does all that for me. Um, you know, getting people to, I have to tell you, after this COVID-19, all brokerages are going to rearrange how they do construct or how they do business. There's going to be a lot of agents that go, I don't want to go in the office. Now, if
Right.
they do, they're probably more interested in potluck and friendship than anything, but we only like to work with people that are productive. Now, that's not saying we don't love everybody, we do, but we're looking for people who are hustlers and runners, and you want to be like people that are alike thinkers. So I don't miss putting on the meetings. Let somebody else do it, but the support has been utterly amazing. I can call Jason Guessing on his cell and go, Jason, I need help. I text Gene. I go, Gene, I need your help. These guys come running for you, man. And that's more than I've ever had from any company that I've been with.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, I want to tell you, number one is, I appreciate you. Really appreciate your friendship, um, mentorship, other things that we've done in the past. I appreciate you at least once a month, with here at EXP.
And Pilar does too, I bet.
That's absolutely. And you know what? At least for us, uh, has brought back a renewed. Um, I know our phrase is fun again, but it's been more of a renewed energy, because one thing that I did find is you can still be producing at what a lot of people, or most people, would be considered a higher level than most, but it can still just be on like autopilot. It's almost like, it's just all of a sudden, it becomes, like brushing your teeth, or getting up to walk, or whatever. It's just a reflex.
Yeah.
Whereas in coming here and building an actual business, and actually re-engaging again, has been really good. It's been really good, and I want to thank you personally for bringing us over. I also want to thank you for taking a few minutes out today, because I know you had a couple of other meetings, and we had to schedule this one in between. I want you to know I appreciate it, and it'll be good seeing you virtually at the shareholders meeting here in a week or so.
All right, Elgin, you're my ride or die partner, man.
All right, my friend. Thank you.
Okay, have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.